when building your logo. I know some people did send me sketches. I will have time to respond to sketches tomorrow, or more likely Friday. But the first thing I'm going to do is start working with some different typefaces. So when I'm designing a logo, the first thing I do is create an element with my brand name in it. Captive Designs.
Are there almost always parameters that you're given from wherever you're designing?
When you're really lucky, there aren't, but yes, most of the time there are. And that's a good thing, because it helps to give you a direction in which to go. It's almost worse if they say do whatever you want and then they hate it. That's kind of a bad feeling. But you would like, in the best case scenario, to be given some free rein within a set of parameters, instead of, you know, it has to be this typeface and it has to be this color. Because the typeface does help or say a lot in the style of a logo, obviously, right? Because we're so used to, we're such a highly visual culture, we're so used to looking at things. Okay, so here's one. I hate the S. That's really a horrible S. So I like the font, but do I really want to go to the trouble of making my own S for this typeface? And if I was going to do it, could I do it? And what does the U look like? Because I might be able to make an S out of two U's. So here, I'll just type a U. So if I really felt the need to use this typeface, it was really important to me. I'll come back to that in a minute, but I can break this apart and turn it into something else. So I'll just leave that one here. So the first thing I will do is experiment with typefaces. Pick a number of typefaces that you think will work and share them with the client, yourself or me, because you're the client and I'm also the client. You know, and it wants to be legible, which that is not, and it wants to feel like the thing. So I really could spend some time looking at typefaces that feel very captivating or jail-like or something. It's not clear what that word really means out of context. It could have something to do with freedom. But that's the first step that I'll do, is I'll identify the typefaces, and once identified, narrow it down to one or two typefaces. Then, let's say I'm going to use this font here in the middle. I'll trash the other elements, design 2, and then I'll start working with this. It's called Space Age, is the name of the font. If I compress it like so and drag it out, if I try and do some kind of an effect to it, is it going to be a bad situation or is it going to be okay? So probably doesn't want to get too distorted. And then I think this typeface is great, but I'd like to see a little improvement on it. And I've seen this typeface before, and I would maybe want to add just like a little circle here for the A. That's my crossbar for the A. See that? All right, I might want to split this into 2 words, cutting this word, removing the space, click and paste, checking if there are ways that I can work with these things together and what happens. Is it legible? Is it not legible? So I'll create different combinations of the font or the words within the text, seeing if it's legible, if it's not, what kind of dynamic energy can I create between the elements of text. And then I might have another element that I want to add to this such as a bird sitting here on the top of this, and maybe birds flying away. So if you can't draw, then you can research. You can find the elements that you need and trace them, print them, trace them, scan them, take a photograph of them, and then try and draw them again. So birds taking flight, silhouette. Lots of options. And so from this point, I would start to hack and slash, chop this up, and arrange it. So this is what I'm asking you for, which is sketches first. Because while it's possible to create an okay logo by just sticking it together, it's also, by cutting pieces apart, it's also really easy to plagiarize. So this idea is something I might want to consider, but I can't steal this outright. This might be a very interesting element to add to my logo in the background, but I need to create my own version of it. My own birds, my own person, my own strings. That is derivative, not really plagiaristic. It's a thin line between copying something and using it as a reference to help you to leverage your own work. So your assignment for when you return is to have a logo design and or at least 2 versions of your logo design, more if possible, done to your best ability. This is the kind of thing I was thinking about, like birds kind of taking flight. So this gives me something that I could print out and trace while at the same time riffing on it, making it my own, or making it a little bit more original, changing the shapes, the sizes, maybe from big to small. Okay, so all of what you need is here. If I wanted to trace something that I see online, one option is to literally, and I'm going to show you how to do this right now in Illustrator, is I'll pick something that looks like it's pretty good size, and I'll control click on this and I'll do save image as, and I will save this to the desktop as stock vector blah blah blah, and then I'll go back to my design work here and to my layers panel in Illustrator. Then I'm going to create or actually bring in my artwork that I want to trace. So it's going to be File, Place, and there it is. And now I'm clicking to place it. However, it is really on its own sub-layer inside of my logo layer or my text layer, and I don't want it to be. I want it to be in its own layer. So to do that, I'm going to collapse this layer and click outside of it and add a new layer and move this new layer underneath the first layer if you're watching on screen. Then I will grab this little dot and pull it down onto layer 2. And if I double click on layer 2 on the icon and I look at the layer options, one of them is to dim it 50%. If I do dim 50%, click away, that doesn't look so good. What the heck? It should look better than that. It's kind of a strange screen anomaly there. That's actually supposed to look faded out, and it's not looking faded out. That just looks nasty. All right, so that's not working on my machine for whatever reason. I don't know why. But it's supposed to make it look lighter so that you can see what you're doing. I'm wondering if I make this 110, what would it do? Okay, no, it won't do anything. Okay, so now that that's there, I will lock this layer. So to lock it, I'm going to click on this slot here right to the right of the eyeball. And then when I begin to draw, I'll create a new layer. And Z is for zoom, and I'll zoom in. And I will now draw this bird. Okay, so I'm zooming in. And now things get tricky here. So if you have been practicing with the pen tool, you might be okay with this. Not the easiest thing in the world to draw, but not that difficult either. So I would start with picking one spot where I'm going to be drawing, and also a color other than black so I can see what it's creating. And not filling it, but just drawing the lines. So I'm using the pen tool, and I'm clicking and dragging, but I have not dragged quickly enough, dragging. And now I'm going to kind of come around here, but my curve is too long, and already it would appear that I'm getting into some trouble. So I'm just going to go through this as if I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm just kind of clicking and dragging. Click to create a corner point, click and drag to create curve points. Click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. So I'm creating these rounded lines. People, just show of hands, who use the pen tool at all? Right, only a couple of people. So you may want to supplement your knowledge. Watch a few YouTube tutorials on drawing with the pen tool. The way I'm doing this is to teach you as if I really am not trying to do that accurate a job, but showing you how to manipulate this. Click again on this point so that I can customize it. All right, so I did a pretty rough job here. It's not looking very close to the original at all, so here's what I need to do. Right here on this first very awkward looking point, I need to shorten the right side of that curve. Okay, and move this anchor point and pull this direction handle. Could also shorten it just a little bit more. Over here, same thing. I need to move the anchor point and shift the direction line. Move the direction line. Here I have some kind of twisty notion going on. I need to untwist. And now I have a scary little beak situation that needs to be reined in. Sort of looks like an elephant trunk. Right, so it's starting to look a little closer. Clicking on the vectors, the lines themselves, you can move the anchor points, and when you're first learning, you kind of have to pull these handles, see what happens. Click on the anchor point and adjust the direction handle. It doesn't really feel like you're drawing at first, but if you keep doing it, if you keep practicing drawing in Illustrator and watch tutorials, even if you have to keep watching and trying and watching and trying, there will be a point at which it starts becoming fluid for you. And that's when it starts to feel like drawing. I actually have a difficult time doing this and talking at the same time. There's a competition going on between the sides of my brain. Like the right and the left side. And a lot of times when I'm teaching, I really make some ugly stuff. But then if I'm quiet and silent, then my designs come out fine. You know, they look good. But it's really hard to talk and do something unplanned, creative at the same time. Okay, so I need to zoom in, Z for zoom. And what's happening here is I have a twisted point here. And I can just tell because it's just not the correct shape. It's all over the place. And move this up and tuck this in. And now I want to see really what it's going to look like when it's filled and not stroked, because the stroke is giving me a distorted concept here of what it really looks like. See, because that little crazy point that's coming off of there, that's not really truly what it's going to look like. If I switch now, selecting this and click down here on this little arrow, filling it with red and not stroking it with anything, that's a much better impression of what I've created, which is totally workable. I wish I could just have you all come forward and I could give you like a Vulcan mind meld and make it really easy for you to learn how to draw with the pen tool in Illustrator. Unfortunately, I've not perfected that craft. Another way you can try and draw in Illustrator, this you might like better, but it's not that it's that much easier, it's just a different way. So this tool here, so you have the regular pen tool, which has this anchor point and add and subtract point tools, but then there's this other one that's more of a freehand tool, and essentially you can try and trace this thing. And I'm just using the mouse to trace this. It's really not that I'm that good at this, but if I let go, there should be something here, I hope. Nope, nothing there at all. What did I do? It should be doing something here. Yeah, because I have no stroke. I'm creating nothing, nothing at all. Let's try it again. And this one kind of curves as you go, but it's also kind of freaky because it does things that you're not really expecting it to do. It's not an easy tool to control. So I would stay away from that tool for today. It's just not one, I never really use it. The pencil tool is actually pretty amazing. Check this out. This is the pencil tool. I'm going to really go fast, but the reason why is because even though this looks frightening here, it's not as bad as you think. This pencil tool is better if you have a Wacom tablet. It's not the easiest thing to do with a trackpad. That being said, all right, now there is a shape that's very dramatic. Inside the pencil tool, there's a tool called the smooth tool. And when I run this smooth tool on the line, it smooths. It's smoothing these wonky looking curves here. So that gives me the initial outline of my bird. And I'm not trying to make it exact because I don't want to plagiarize. I'm just using this as a template, something to help me get an idea of how to draw a bird. So now I can move the anchor points in the direction lines with the white arrow tool. And once I've gotten this closer to what I think it should look like, untwisted some of the twisted lines, and I'll flip it to see what it looks like filled. It's not so bad. Now I can see that I need to curve some more of these other lines that are not curved. So here is the smooth tool, and if I run this tool along this edge, eventually this will start looking more like a curved shape. I take a few strikes at it, but it will do it. There it goes. Okay, so now it's much more curved, rounded, and same thing here. It's rounding, rounded. Oh, I split it now. I got to undo. I went a little too far. At the end, once you've traced everything and you're happy with it, you can unlock the tracing layer and just hide it. In which case, you know, you still have it there. You can turn it back on. Another tool you can try here is the eraser tool. A very amazing little tool because what this does is it erases a solid shape and allows you to draw as if you're painting. Kind of cool. Right, so that's one bird. So I'm going to copy this bird. Or actually, I'm going to zoom out. And that is the one I'm going to use. Right. Now, right, so now I have the beginnings of a logo. Other things that I might need to do to make this more believable, or workable, is let's look at this next thing I'm going to do here. I'm going to scale this bird here. Okay. And I want to talk about outlining text. So I'm going to duplicate this text element over here because I want to keep this one so you can see it intact before I do what I'm about to do. A lot of times you see these logos with outlines, big thick things and then thinner things. There's another one. They're all around, right? All right, so to get that kind of an effect, here's what I'm going to do. I have my text selected here, and I'm going to copy it, Command-C. So now it is copied. It's sitting on my clipboard, just as it is, no stroke, black fill. Now I'm going to fill it with black as it is. There's one on the clipboard, and I have a black outline on the text. Bringing the black outline to the front, I'm going to thicken that black outline till it's very thick, like so. Okay. Now I'm going to paste, Command F, the text in front, but you cannot tell it's pasted in front. I know it's pasted in front because I just pasted it, but now I'll double click on the color chip and I will make it red. Now I have this. If I create a stroke on that, oh, not black, boom, and I'll put a 2-point stroke on that. And then again, I already still have that on the clipboard because I copied it. If I paste in front again, edit, paste in front, or Command F, now it feels like Star Wars type. And I'll change this color to white. If I want to edit that, I'm going to go to Show All Layers, Lock Layers, Outline, Panel Options, and bring my panel options up. And I'm going to make these large icons. That makes it a little bit easier to see. And if we look inside this layer here, we've got the words captive and the words design and the dot for the O. So as I start turning off these layers, that also starts to create another design possibility. I wasn't thinking about that at all, but this is happy accident working in design. If I decided to, let's say, change one of the colors of these elements, like I want the word captive or the word designs to be a different color, I need to locate where that is. It's this layer. Click this little circle, which is actually called the meatballer right there. And then I can see this is what's selected. Because if you try to select this black layer here in the back, you can't. You can't select this black layer by clicking on it. You can select it by clicking this little circle. So now the word captive that's behind is this one. So that's not the right one. And now I have the one that's behind everything else. And if I change this one's stroke color to something else, and I'll just change it to blue, even though that wouldn't be something I would keep. Now I have it filled with and stroked with blue, and it's in the right position. It's underneath. So what you have here is these eyeballs that allow you to locate which piece of this multiple stacked logo is which, and then to be able to select it by clicking on this circle, and then to change the thickness or the fill and the stroke. Right, so now it's red, and then the thing above it won't show very well, or it's actually this one. And so here I've got it selected. I'm pretty sure it's that one because it's showing red and red. And now I can change this to, let's just say, yellow. And here's why it's important to also put the same color in the fill as the stroke. Otherwise you'll get some strange anomalies in color, and you could even throw off at the edge of your artwork. Right, so I hope this is helpful in giving you some ideas of what to expect when you're making your type elements. I strongly suggest that you do sketches before you start making anything. Send them to me. I will comment